British Grand Prix. Rather eclectic. Get in, Lewis! An absolutely fantastic win. What a drive. What a race. That had everything. Stick with me. I'm going to get through it. We'll go through the race and I'll give you my 3 good and my 3 bad. But wow. Silverstone always delivers. I've said that well before and it done it again. It's like Brazil, isn't it? It's just, the circuit just absolutely comes to life. The British weather played its part. It was dry, wet, dry. We didn't know what we were going to get at certain parts of the race. And Lewis Hamilton wins. Win number 9. Mercedes back-to-back wins. Are they back? I'm not so sure despite them winning back-to-back races. But what a race. We'll get back to the beginning. It felt so long ago now. And it was a good start from both the Mercedes guys, weren't they? George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, line astern, perfect start for the team. They followed each other well, looked comfortable early on. Max Verstappen was the big move there, wasn't he? He got the move on Lando Norris, turn 4 round the outside. And it looked then like Max was pushing, wasn't he? He was closing up on Lewis a little bit on lap 1 and 2 and then slowly dropped off. The big movers in the start there were Charles Leclerc up 3 places, up into P8, and that was probably the best his race got, didn't it? And Yuki Tsunoda, good start from him, made up 2 places. It was a bad start for Nico Hülkenberg and you feared the worst from that point. Dropped 3 places back down to 9th from P6, and Alex Albon also, he had a good position in P9 and was dropped down to 12th early on. And well, the race changed around for them lot, didn't it? Drastically from there. Alonso and Albon collided, and that's what caused Albon to go back a couple of places. He had damage, but what a race he pulled off with damage. And then we got Oscar Piastri closing in on Max Verstappen, didn't he? And then the battle, Lando Norris made the move on Max Verstappen, lap 15, and it was a really good move, wasn't it, on Max? Max was struggling, couldn't keep close or tags on the Mercedes, which was surprising. The weather hadn't really changed that much, but in dry conditions, I thought the Red Bull would be, he'd be on it, especially since he'd cleared Norris, and I thought, right, this is it, Max is going to go in for the kill. It didn't quite come about, did he? And Mercedes did really well. The cooler track conditions clearly helped that car, and I think that was what played such a big role in them getting this win here today. The car just came alive, but then as soon as the mixed conditions came, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri absolutely flying, the pair of them, didn't they? It was brilliant then from lap 17. We seen the Piastri closing on Max Verstappen, made the pass on him. Hamilton closed up on George Russell on lap 18 as the rain just came a bit more, made the pass on him, and you just thought, what's going on here? Lewis Hamilton led, but not for very long, because through came Lando Norris, lap 20, past George Russell, got past Lewis Hamilton, and so did Oscar Piastri, a lap later or so, and it then looked like the 2 McLarens would run away with it. The Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton kept ahead of George Russell, and that sort of steadied off a little bit. Max Verstappen was keeping a watchful eye in 5th place. Carlos Sainz was actually closing in on Max Verstappen as well at that point, and it looked like Verstappen was looking sort of 5th, 6th place at best. Sainz was on a bit of a charge as well, and then yeah, it just went absolutely bazonkers, didn't it? Lap 20, Charles Leclerc pitted for Inters, as did Sergio Perez. What now is an absolutely disastrous call, and even worse still that they stuck with it. I mean, they lost well over 20 plus seconds staying with that strategy, and it's only a 20-second pit stop, and they should have really just pit for the right tyres. Nobody pit really but them, and it really screwed their race from there, didn't it? Lap 27, and we've seen the right time really, I thought at the time, where Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz came in for Inter. They came in 1 lap earlier. Christian Horner, though, afterwards saying that actually they thought it was probably 1 lap earlier, because that just wore out. It wasn't quite the changeover time, and the Inters on that lap really did take a hammering, and that cost him a little bit, because lap 28, when Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton pit, George Russell had to double stack. Oscar Piastri didn't double stack, and that was a mistake. Another one from McLaren not making him stop, because that really cost him, dropped him down to 6th, and a podium was on had they double stacked, I thought, for him. he would have, you know, he would have dropped places, no doubt. George Russell did the same. He dropped a place to Max Verstappen. He was obviously just lucky that Piastri stayed out, because he would have been behind him also. But yeah, shame from there. George Russell retired, but he was closing in on Max Verstappen up until the point of lap 34 when he had to retire because of a water system issue. Yeah, lap 29, it was 28. Oscar carried on, pitted lap later, and that really cost him, because he just out of sync, dropped about 10 seconds in that sort of lap to the guys from where he was. It was horrible in that sense. It must be awful when the team have sort of left you hung out to dry. And then we saw the race steady a little bit, didn't we? Not Lando Norris was ahead, Lewis Hamilton in second, third for Max Verstappen, and then it was fairly steady from there on, wasn't it? The two up front were dropping Max Verstappen there at that time, and then it all changed again, didn't it? As the track dried really quickly. Lap 39, Hamilton and Verstappen both pit, and they go split strangely here. Lewis Hamilton went for the softs, Max Verstappen went for the hards, and I think they probably picked the hards looking at how Perez did on his hard tyres, who early on was on a bit of a charge, wasn't he? He really liked them tyres. Lando Norris pitted a lap later, and strangely they took the softs also, where despite him having a brand new set of medium tyres, Oscar Piastri took the mediums and was brilliantly on a charge at the end. And then 14 laps of qualifying times, I think, from Lewis Hamilton to manage the soft tyre, which was clearly not the right tyre at that time. I mean, we'd seen early on cars getting 8-9 laps most really on them softs. I mean, some dragged them to lap 14, but they were so far down because the softs were just not the tyre for the race really. It was the mediums or the hards. But yeah, Lewis made it work, didn't he? It was incredible. It just looked like a matter of time really with Max Verstappen on a charge. Lando Norris couldn't really stick with Lewis Hamilton at that point, and then it just looked like he was a sitting duck to Max Verstappen in the end, which is a real shame, because I think with the right call on the mediums, Lando Norris would have won this race, and it would have been potentially a fight with Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton for that second place. But we'll never know. But yeah, Lando Norris lost out to Max Verstappen for the second, and then Verstappen was right on a charge, was comfortable with 1.4 seconds of Lewis Hamilton right at the end. But what a win. Lewis Hamilton in front of his home crowd for his last race for Mercedes here. It was absolutely incredible. There was just action throughout, wasn't it? Carlos Sainz pitted right at the end, got the fastest lap of the race. The driver of the day is Lewis Hamilton, clearly. It was just absolutely tremendous. He was like George Russell last time out, just there in the right positions. He made the most of it. He got the pass on George Russell, which was crucial. He got the first pit, didn't he, when it came to the stacking at that time, and that really was the bit that put him in charge at the front there, didn't he? Because Lando Norris with that slow stop when he came in for his softs right at the end meant that Lewis got the jump on him, and had he lost time double stacking, he wouldn't have been in that position. So crucial passes for Lewis when it mattered, and it was absolutely fantastic. And let's get to the 3 good and the 3 bad. Well, I'm going to say with one of them, it started off with Jeremy Clarkson right at the start of the race with an interview with Martin Brundle on the grid. He said, if it rains, one of the old men are winning, Fernando, Alonso or Lewis Hamilton, and he called it, well, mixed conditions. Lewis Hamilton won, and the first of the 3 good, Lewis Hamilton, 104 wins, the first driver to win 9 races at one venue. It was absolutely tremendous to make the softs last 14 laps on a charging Max Verstappen. He did an absolutely tremendous job. He was so emotional at the end, wasn't he? Just crossing that line, the release, finally a win after 3 years. Saudi Arabia 21, his last win. So to finally break that, to see his teammate win last time out, he's back-to-back wins for Mercedes. Are they back? I'm not sure they've got the full fastest 1 lap pace yet, that Mercedes, but they've done a tremendous job working on that car. And early doors we were saying Lewis Hamilton has got the right call going to Ferrari when they were on a charge. Well, that's all turned on its head, isn't it? Should he have stuck with Mercedes? As questions will ask like throughout now until next season, but it was fantastic to see him win his final home race for the Mercedes, where he spent 12 successful years, to come home with the win. And the way he did it as well was on merit, wasn't it, really, this time round? It didn't look into it a little bit like George Russell in Austria, where the two collided ahead of him. He won it on pace. The mixed conditions clearly help, but that's nothing you can do. You've just got to take full advantage of it, and he absolutely did that. A fantastic win. Second of the three good, I'm going for Max Verstappen, a P2 that didn't look on at one point, did it at all? He was looking 5th, 6th place over his shoulders at the Ferrari. They were really slow in that first stint. The second stint, when he went onto the Inters, he fried him a little bit with that one lap early stop with Sainz, didn't he? And then he was still dropping back. Looked like he was into the clutches of George Russell. Lucky for him probably that Russell retired at that time, because it looked like Russell was faster and would have potentially made the move on him. And well, it all came good in the end. He picked the right tyre and he was an absolute charge. And he's done it again. Extends his lead in the Drivers' Championship over Lando, Norris. And to come home second, which at a circuit which was probably one of their worst, isn't it, for a long time actually, because in race conditions that car just didn't look very good at all with 2 out of the 3 stints. So to pull off a second place, I think you've got to be massively impressed with him. Beats Norris, and yeah, just to be 1.4 seconds behind Hamilton in the end, absolutely brilliant from him. And the third of the 3 goods going to Nico Hülkenberg. Credit to that Haas team. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. It was brilliant in qualifying, set that up with P6, and to finish 6th in the end after a poor start. He was looking over his shoulders down, wasn't he, down in 9th place, but to put it all together, he was finished just 8 seconds behind Carlos Sainz, who's in the works Ferrari, and they've got a customer engine in the back. It's an absolutely brilliant weekend. He's been on it, he's been fantastic, and his Sauber must just be licking their lips thinking, what a driver we have on our hands. He's been so underrated and so underestimated, Nico Hülkenberg, and it's a real shame he's not been given the chance in a top car, but he's delivered. His qualifying performances have been brilliant, but now he seems to have got the whole round package, isn't it? He's delivering in the races as well, so absolutely brilliant job. And I'm going to give a shout out to Alex Albon. First points, a P9 for Williams, a incredible job with damage in that car to drop out of the points and to bring it home in P12 in the end. He can be massively happy with that. He definitely must be overjoyed. Some well-deserved points, and he's back on it again, isn't he? Alex Albon doing the business. And let's get to the three bad, and the first of them, Sergio Perez. He's had an absolute stinker, hasn't he? He wasn't helped by the call to go on the Inters, but he was way down. I mean, he started well. He made up 5 places early doors. The strategy to go on Inters early at lap 20 was absolutely the wrong call. But then to stick with it was probably even worse. And then even when they did switch, they just were absolutely nowhere. He ran, 17th, effectively last. He was beaten by Bottas in a Sauber. Just wasn't great at all. A horrible weekend. Started off with the spin in qualifying. It's just getting bad to worse for Sergio Perez, and this poor form is just continuing, isn't it? And where does it end? Red Bull have kind of done everything they can with this guy, haven't they? They really have supported him. You can't say anything but that. He's been given every sort of benefit of the doubt, the push, the arm around the shoulder, just to try and get him back on sorts. But despite an early start, he's been absolutely nowhere since. Second of the 3 bad is Charles Leclerc, and it's another one out in Q2 yesterday. Started 11th after a good start and up into P8, and you thought, well, he's on it, and they running 6th and 7th behind his teammate. You thought, this is a Ferrari, decent recovery drive is probably what you could expect, and they could have picked up some pieces. Verstappen could have been there for the taking potentially, had they got their strategy right, but yeah, pitted early, lap 20, and much like Perez, a horrible call, and just to stick it out, it was absolutely nowhere in the end. By the time, you know, the rain came down and you thought them tyres would be good, they were cooked, fried, and you just, yeah, absolutely horrible result for him. He was so disappointed in the end, and he seems to always come out on these calls for the strategy, isn't he? He needs to be more like Carlos Sainz in the race management. We've said this before, we said it last season. When it comes to race strategy or race management, Carlos Sainz is the one. He's delivered again for Ferrari. And Charles Leclerc, is he just too reliant, or is he not forceful enough when the team come out with these crazy strategy calls to just say, no, this is not the right call at the moment? Yeah, it was just... And even when he had nothing to lose, he didn't even try to take the dry tyres early. He did to try and do something to correct the big mistake that he had. Yeah, horrible weekend for him. And the third of the three bad, I'm going for Ocon in P16. It was a horrible race. He was at the back, so far down, and as a team for Alpine, a DNF for Gasly before he's even taken the grid is horrible. It's a kick in the teeth, that, isn't it? And for Ocon to run so far down, so far back, I thought they would have a bad weekend here, but didn't expect them to be so far away from any points. And I'm going to give Lando the sort of fourth place three bad here, isn't it? Because, and it's going to sound harsh, but it was his race for the taking. He didn't make the right call. I think the team didn't help it, because all they ever talked about when it came to strategy was, do you go with softs to cover off Hamilton? Do you go with the hards to cover off Max Verstappen? He was racing Lewis Hamilton at that time, so naturally you'd say, let's go with what Lewis has done, and I think I'll beat him pound for pound, pace for pace, lap for lap. And it just, yeah, it wasn't. The team should have really said, look, we've got a juicy, fresh, new medium soft tyre here for you. Just the medium tyre, just it worked brilliantly well for Oscar Piastri. Piastri made 10 seconds in the last laps on Lando Norris, and had no doubt Norris would have had that pace, if not better. We would have seen him in a ding-dong battle with Lewis Hamilton, and potentially would have seen a Lando Norris win, and it should have been. He was so downbeat at the end, and I think rightly so, because it was his race to win again. And how many times have we said that in the last couple of races? I mean, that's Canada, Austria, and now Silverstone. It could have been 3 out of 3 for him. It hasn't been. It's, yeah, more disappointment for them, but what a weekend. Let's get back to Lewis Hamilton. 7-time world champion, 8 in my eyes, and to finally come back and win in his home race for Mercedes. It was a masterful drive in the conditions where it was mixed. He made the crucial pass on George Russell, got the first call on the, you know, when it came to the double stacking, that was crucial. And then, was it the right call to go on softs? I think they probably didn't have hard mediums, because I think he would have potentially picked them. But went for the softs because I think it was wet, and they thought, well, they'll, you know, warm up just right, and it'll be, you know, the one to take us to the end. And well, it did in the end, didn't it? A fantastic win. When you look at his lap times, he was only losing a tenth or two to Max Verstappen, where Lando Norris on the same tyres was losing 4 or 5 tenths of a second. So it was a brilliant job from Lewis in the end. He was so consistent and, you know, on it, and to win the way he did is absolutely tremendous. Shows why he's a true champion. And Max Verstappen came and kept him honest there, didn't he? Brilliant back-to-back Mercedes win at Silverstone. Oh, it was an incredible race. Probably one of the best races I've seen for, well, a couple of races actually, isn't it? Because we had a cracker. Even in Austria, at the end for the last 10 laps, I'd say. But Canada was brilliant. So we've now getting sort of a 3-car or 3-team battle for the win now, aren't we? With Mercedes taking 2, Lando Norris got his win, Max Verstappen and that Red Bull is always strong. But we head to Hungary next, and well, Lewis Hamilton loves that circuit, and who can bet against him for another win? It'll be absolutely fantastic. A brilliant race. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. Watch out for my driver ratings video coming soon. See you then.